Good morning. Well, today I'm finally inside the house. I'm finally starting the electrics. Basically, there's two things I have to do. I have to put in the plug sockets in the walls, and that's going to use basically a kind of a special grooving machine that I'm going to take along the walls and make a channel in the where all the stones are and stuff like that, and then put in a conduit with wire in it, and then run it up to individual plugs. And then you do that for each room and then run them back to where the fuse panel will be. And that's where the electrician's going to poke it all together and make sure I've done it right. But I'm doing kind of the grunt work of it. The other thing we have to do is there's going to be a lot of lights in rooms from the ceilings in the center. So all the bedrooms will have some sort of chandelier or some sort of cool light or something we get from a brocante or like a antique thing hanging, something cool. So we need to put all those, just like this guy here is hanging. He's actually on the surface. He's not coming through the ceiling. So I don't know if you can see the wire that comes across here and this conduit. We're getting all that's coming out. And nothing's going to stay. So in order to get up there and to be able to fish the wires through, I'm going to be installing some trapdoors. Trapdoors, access panels, I don't know. Trapdoor sounds fun. But anyways, so I have to do that because there's certain areas on the top floor basically in the lofts or the attic where I don't know what's going on there. I can't see. There's no way to get into it. So one half of the house, which is basically from this wall here, front to the back, that whole side, I can access from a ladder. And basically they've kind of installed a weird window thing that you can lift up, a hatch that will get you into a whole good section of the house. However, there are 4 other sections that I can't get to. So there's a section that's in my little editing computer room. That section, which is right there, I can't access from basically between these 2 walls. There's a section down there, and there's a section from about here back. So this whole section here, I can't get into. So what I need to do is I need to put a panel in there, something that I can pop up, get into. It's just going to be like a half-meter panel that I can just kind of squeeze through and, do what I want with electrical stuff. Another thing I'm doing all these panels for is I have to, at some point, insulate, because I don't think there's any insulation from basically this half of the house over. So this hallway has none. These 2 sections, there's a bedroom over here, and there's going to be our games room, I guess, over here that I don't think there's any insulation, because I stuck a camera up there when we were first kind of figuring out where things were with the house. So I drilled little holes up. They're covered in tape now, but there's one over there. And basically, I put an inspection camera up and looked. I didn't see any insulation. You can't see very well with it, but I just don't think there's any insulation in here, which is pretty crazy. And the insulation we do have is like 10 centimeters, which is like about 4, like the width of a joist. So it's like 4 inches roughly, I think. I can't quite remember my math very well. But anyways, we need to be putting 300 in there. So it's like a third of what it should be. So all the insulation that's in there on the one half of this section of the house, it's all come up anyways. And it's fiberglass. It's not that great. We're going to replace it with rock wool insulation. It's better. It's less scratchy. And it's versus using something like a cotton or something more like a natural fabric. It's less likely to get rodents in it. So we're kind of compromising between being not quite as toxic or scratchy and not good for you to being something that we don't want to have bugs and critters in the house and living in the roof. And I'm going to try to, if I can, I want to try to put them inside the cupboards. In my little office editing room, it doesn't matter if there's a panel and you can see the crack around it. It's not going to be a pretty room anyways. There's a door on it. No one's going to see it. For here, I'm not quite sure where I want to put it because it's going to be kind of visible. But once again, we've just got to make compromises, right? It's an old house. We want to be able to access it. I want to be able to go back in 20 years or 10 years and fix something if a wire breaks, or we want to add different kind of insulation, or the roof leaks, or I don't know, whatever. But we want to be able to access stuff. So this is the perfect time, since everything's a mess anyways, nothing's been done. We have to plaster, fix up all the ceilings and touch up all the cracks and that sort of stuff. This is the time to start cutting holes in things and making sure we can get in and access stuff. The access to the roof is also, when you go up that ladder and you go up window. There's a little teeny window out there that we're going to get replaced with a slightly bigger one. And so if you were to work on the roof outside, if a tile slipped, or if there is, just something wrong with the roof for some reason, then that's how you would access it. If there's a leak or something like that, like 20 years down the road, once we get the roof replaced, which we're suing to get. The goal is today is just to simply cut a hole. Hopefully I've kind of guesstimated by going to the other side over there, looking at the wood, how wide the hole is and the size of the panel. It should fit in. I may have to slightly trim a little bit around some of the bottom of the joists. I'm not sure, but if it's out by like less than a centimeter, like a quarter of an inch sort of thing, if it's kind of a bit tight. But it should be okay. I believe it should be okay. And yeah, let's do that. Let's see if we can get a hole in something. I've also got to do, when I'm planning these, I have to plan so that they're not at the edges, if that makes any sense. So the roof goes, it's not very high. You couldn't stand in, well, you can kind of hunch and kind of go across like that, but it's not like a usable space. And there's no way they would let us extend it up or anything like that. So we're not going to be looking at using it anyways. So I have to be thinking about, where do I put that panel up? Because if I put it too close to this edge, I've got no room to put the insulation up, no room to get up to it. So I've got to kind of come in a bit. So that's what I'm hoping with this first one is it's in the width of that room, and hopefully there's enough for me to get up and in and move big, half a meter wide or bales of insulation up, and then twist it so I can roll them out and lay them on top of each other when I get there. So yeah, let's do that. Let's work on pulling this cupboard apart and cutting a hole in the ceiling. So yeah, essentially what I've got to do is I've got to cut a hole in the ceiling that's the size of the inner part of this, and then I stick that up, put it down, and I'll have to put some wood across the two sides other than the rafters, and then basically that's how I access it. I have to go in and remove these shelves, obviously, they're going to come out. And the other thing I'm not too sure about is if you see there's kind of like a bulkhead here. And basically the ceiling is here. But if you look farther up, there's a whole other ceiling up there. So I don't know if they have anything above this, if this goes all the way to the roof, or if I want to hit this ceiling, I have to go through another ceiling to get there. So I'm just not really sure what we're going to find, but it's good to experiment. And we'll take a peek around and yeah, let's see what we can do with this. So they tend to use a lot of hollow clay bricks. Like, so for all the supports between this one and between this one and the top and the sides, they use these really thin kind of clay bricks. So I think that's what they've done over here. So it's just more difficult to get out. Yeah, I can see the edges of it. You tell there's a piece over here. Yeah. You have to forgive me for this video because it's difficult to know where to set the cameras up when I'm working inside of a closet, if you know what I mean. So my biggest thing is what I've just had a little think about it. I don't want to just smash the whole top off. What I want to do is figure out, first of all, if there is that other ceiling above, like what you would get right above me here, like if there's a ceiling that's for the cupboard and then a ceiling for the actual room, or if I can see through what's up there now, using my scope camera and just drill a hole, then I'll know whether this will be the lower layer or not, if that makes any sort of sense. So then that way I will just cut the actual size of the panel out or focus on that. But if it's not, then this has got to come out anyways. And I'll have to do something like, maybe make just like because there'll be another ceiling above it, I'll just make something like a piece of plasterboard that'll lift up, and then there'll be another hatch above that, if that makes sense. So I think it's good just to kind of experiment and see what's in there first. So let's drill a hole. It has to be a hole somewhere, right? So let's go for it. So yeah, you can see all the red brick dust, which is pretty interesting. Basically, it's a camera that you can stick up through holes and take a look. Just big enough, I think, to get it through. Yeah. Let's take a look at what, let's record something and see what we got up there. So my camera, I'm able to see, and you can see that. But basically it shows what's going on. There's a little light at the end, so I can poke up and see what's going on there. And if we have tiles on the roof, if I can see there's daylight coming through, which is more likely because there's so many holes in this roof. But yeah, let's see what we got up there. That is the one side of the brick. Going up or through. It's very dark, isn't it? What's that? Okay, so that looks a bit like a... Ooh, weird, isn't it? See, let me make this as straight as possible. It just kind of keeps going straight up as much as I can get it to go straight up. Don't know if it's going to do. Let's really straighten this out. At least try to. It's curling. Curling. Because I'd have to go up like 2-3 feet, which I don't think I'll be able to do to see the actual surface of the ceiling. And then I think as I go up, the wire falls over. Ooh, what's that? It's not a snake, I hope. That could be just me dragging it around and making circles with my camera. That's kind of the limit of where it starts flopping over. Yeah, that's not working. So what I'm going to do is drill several holes kind of in a bit of a circle and then smash over the hammer and see if I can get a little more view. Hopefully I only hit one tile and don't hit a bunch. But yeah, let's do that. Okay, let's smash some holes. A hole. I can see right now that there's a whole other roof above. You see how it's white up there? My shadow on the second roof. Second ceiling. So I can get back to what it probably used to look like in the old days. So this whole is cracked too. But yeah, so this whole section, I'm going to just take it up. Should probably stand over here so I don't get pinged. Oh, there's wallpaper up there too. Cool. Can you see the old wallpaper in there? leave that little edge there. I think the tile goes over the two of them. Okay, that's pretty clean. Let's take a look inside the cupboard. The ladder. And you can see the wallpaper. Don't know how old it is. It doesn't look that old. I don't know though. And then you can see the tiles that they stuck on the front. And you can see there's a chimney breast or chimney flue, I guess. I'm not sure what you call it. Coming up from the den, I think. And then up here is where I'm going to cut out a square. So it's a crack along here where these bricks meet, and then there's a crack here, a crack along there. So I'm going to get rid of that. I think I'm going to get a multi-tool and gently cut, because there's going to be, we can tell there's lath and plaster because of this here. They got the wood running across. So I think I'm going to just kind of quiet or gently take away the plaster here so it doesn't all collapse on me with the blade from that. It's noisy, but take that down, and then I'll cut this way and cut this way after I measure it for the size of where we need to get rid of the plaster. Because what I don't want to do is have everything in the whole other room collapse and have to, you know, do massive amounts of repairs or anything. So let's go for that. I'm hoping I can just tap the ceiling a little bit, flop down, but we'll see. So we need a 55 by 55 centimeter hole, which is like, I don't know, just under 2 feet, 20 inches. And it's to the wall. That's 60 to here. So we just go straight up this corner. No, yeah, because that's the wood there for it to rest on. And how long is this? There's a piece of wood here I see, which I didn't even buy. 50. Okay, so it's going all the way to here, straight up, and then onto that bit of wood at the bottom. Best I want to get. 55 this way. Yeah, so basically if I take it to this line here, this edge, this piece, it's 55. All right. We know what our aim is. Let's go for it. Let's take a look inside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to surface mount this. I'm not going to go and try to get it to hang down from the top of the rafters or try to make it flush or anything like that. So what I'm going to do is attach it up like this Up in there kind of deal. And then just run some trim around it. I'm going to screw up into bolt into this one. I'm going to screw a little screw on the two edges up here, right through the middle. One here and one here. And then I just basically have a bit of trim that runs around the edge like that. And that's good enough because it's in a cupboard. You're never going to see it. I'm going to probably leave this all like this and leave it open. It'll be a cupboard with access up there. I'll give that a good vacuum in the little area we saw. But what's the point of spending too much time making this look pretty when it's going to be inside of a cupboard and you're never going to see it? So as long as it's airtight, I'm good to go with it. That's going to be it for today. I've got to go to the store and buy wood, and I don't know how much time I want to spend on it. The good news is I can get up in there. I can run the wires. I can get the light or the wire to this light. I can run stuff along into the next section. And, you know, at least I know there's absolutely no insulation in there, which is fantastic because it means when we do put some in there, we should see a difference. But yeah, not the most exciting video, very dusty. I've got 3 more of these to do. 2 of them I will be more fussy with. I have another cupboard one to do on the other bedroom towards the front of the house. And then I have one in my computer room, my office. And then I have one out here in the hallway. So I'm not too sure how I'm going to do right away. I think I'm getting my parts today for the gray water, so I might switch to that for the rest of the week, depending on how tomorrow is. And yeah, I'll resume it later once I get some wood. Anyways, thanks for watching. Hope you liked it, and I'll see you in the next vid. Ciao.